Okay, God, please help me with this one because I definitely can't do this alone. Oh, good morning, everyone. Oh man, I hope you guys are doing good. I'm definitely doing good because I'm just so blessed in life, but I have to be honest, I'm super struggling right now. Um, if you can't tell, I'm alone. I don't have any help today. Everybody's got things to do. So I got to be my editor and I have to turn it on and turn it off. Oh my gosh, and I left my sweater on. I was working out in the garage. I'm doing a project and I've got a bunch of blisters that are just really hurting my fingers now. So I've got to get these band-aids on. I've also had a really hard week just because people I know and love have been struggling in ways that it's hard for me to help them. And oh, that can be really heavy on the heart sometimes, I just feel like struggle is everywhere. Well, when I think about my struggles, I think about what Jesus did on the cross and his struggles, and then I think my struggles are nothing compared to his. It doesn't mean that my struggles are nothing, but thinking about what Jesus did for me sometimes helps me think about being stronger in my struggles. In 1 Peter 2:21, we read, "For to this you have been called, because Christ also suffered for you, leaving an example so that you might follow in his steps." He suffered for us. And when he suffered for us, he didn't say, "You're not going to suffer." And I don't think that God makes us suffer. I don't think he's a God that wants anyone to hurt. I think what happens is that sin exists in the world. And because sin exists in the world, we have to suffer. And God uses those moments of suffering, I think, to shine the brightest in us and to help us really develop that deep inner faith that helps us remember to cling to him in all of that suffering. I sure don't like suffering, but I can rejoice in it knowing that my suffering will one day come to an end, that my suffering might help build a testimony for someone else, and that because I'm suffering, I'm just getting closer to Jesus, So sometimes when I'm really suffering, struggling, that really helps me. Now, I always love to find a verse, and if I can, back in Old Testament too, and I found a good one. Psalms 119:71. "It is good for me that I was afflicted, that I might learn your statutes." And you might think, how is it good that you're afflicted? But it is, because when we struggle, we can draw closer to Jesus, and we can feel his power grow inside of us, and that helps us help others find their power. I think that's a good thing to do, and I hope that in your struggling or suffering this week, you can lean a little bit more on Jesus and find your power. I would love to pray for that for you. And then I got to go turn my own camera off. Dear God, well, you got me through it. Thank you so much for being with me in my struggling. Thanks for being there in all of our suffering and for shining your light the brightest in those darkest moments. Thanks for all of it. It's in your son's name I pray, and thank you again and again. Amen. Okay, everybody have a good week. Oh, here we go.